welcome to Idea TV Midday News. I am Chinatu Oji. We begin with the headlines. Netflix unveiled first AI-generated scene in sci-fi series, The Eternauts. Burkina Faso junta abolishes electoral commission, tightens grip on power amid rising violence. President Tinubu renamed University of Maiduguri after late President Muhammadu Buhari. Nelfon flags 900% tuition hike in 10 tertiary institutions. Away from Africa, Zuckerberg, Meta, and exec settle $8 billion Facebook privacy lawsuit with shareholders. In sports, Junior the Tigres set to battle Argentina in classification round. Now the news in full. Netflix has made a landmark move in television production by incorporating generative artificial intelligence into one of its original series for the first time. A major scene in the Eternauts, a new Argentine sci-fi drama, features a building collapse centered entirely with AI-generated visual effects. The company said the use of AI allowed the scene to be completed at a speed and cost that would have been impossible with traditional visual effects. The sequence, which might have otherwise strained the show's budget, was produced around 10 times faster thanks to generative technology. This development marks the first time AI-generated footage has appeared on screen in a Netflix original film or series. It signaled a significant shift in the streaming giant's production approach, particularly for mid- and lower-budget projects that still aim for high impact. The announcement coincided with Netflix's latest financial report, which showed revenue rising to $11.8 billion in the second quarter of 2025, which is 16% higher than the same period last year. The strong performance was driven in part by the final season of Squid Game, which has already drawn 122 million views. Despite innovation, the use of AI, Netflix maintains that its use of AI is designed to support, not replace creative professionals. The company frames the technology as a tool that expands what's possible in filmmaking, especially for stories that require skill without blockbuster budgets. With Eternauts, Netflix has taken a clear step into the AI era, offering a glimpse at how the future of content creation may blend human vision with machine intelligence. Moving on, Burkina Faso's ruling military junta has officially dissolved the country's electoral commission, declaring it a costly and unnecessary body. The decision announced on state-run RTB television shifts the responsibility of organizing future elections to the Ministry of Interior. Authorities say the move will cut expenses and strengthen national sovereignty over the electoral process. According to Territorial Administration Minister Emile Zerbo, the commission was receiving annual subsidy of approximately $870,000, which the government now deems unjustifiable. He also claimed that eliminating the commission would reduce foreign influence over the country's democratic processes. The decision is the latest in a series of sweeping actions by the military rulers who came to power in September 2022, led by Captain Ibrahim Traoré, following frustration with the previous government's failure to stop growing Islamist insurgency. Elections originally scheduled for 2024 have already been postponed until May-July 2029, extending the junta's transition period by 5 years. The change allows Captain Traoré to remain in power and makes him eligible to run in the next presidential election. Since taking control, the junta has severed ties with former colonial power France and aligned itself with Russia. At the same time, human rights groups have accused the military of widespread abuses, including civilian killings, repression of political opposition, and restriction of press freedom. Meanwhile, violence in the country continues to surge. In the first half of 2025 alone, Al-Qaeda-linked jihadist group JNIM claimed responsibility for over 280 attacks, double the figure for the same period in 2024. According to verified data, this development have raised serious concerns about the military strategy and its capacity to restore stability in the country. As the junta consolidates and pushes back elections further into the future, Burkina Faso faces growing domestic and international scrutiny over its democratic backsliding and deteriorating security situation. Moving on, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has officially renamed the University of Maiduguri as Muhammadu Buhari University in honor of the late former president who passed away earlier this week. The announcement was made during a special Federal Executive Council FEC session in Abuja, where tributes poured in for the late statesman, remembered both as a former military ruler and a two-term civilian president. Tinubu described the renaming as a gesture of national gratitude for Buhari's lifelong commitment to public service. He further highlighted Buhari's historic ties to the Northeast, especially in counter-insurgency efforts, as well as his lasting imprint on Nigerian democratic devolution and military legacy. The renamed institution will now stand as a symbol of Buhari's legacy, particularly in the region that defined much of his presidency's security agenda. The Ministry of Education is expected to announce implementation plans and formal procedures for the name change in the coming days. The move has drawn reactions nationwide, including praise from Buhari's former spokesperson Femi Adesina and other political allies who hailed the gesture as timely and appropriate. In another news, the Nigerian Education Loan Fund (NELFund) has raised alarm over an explosive 900% increase in tuition fees by 10 tertiary institutions for the current academic session, warning that such drastic hikes could cripple the student loan scheme and burden students with unsustainable debts. According to NELFund's Executive Director of Operation, Mustafa Iyal, some institutions raised fees from around 200,000 to as high as 2 million naira, triggering red flags in the agency's automated loan system. Development led to the immediate suspension of loan applications associated with the inflated fee structures. While Iyal did not disclose the names of the affected institutions, he confirmed during a media briefing in Abuja that the agency's system detected the spike during routine checks and blocked disbursement pending clarification. He expressed concern over the sudden and unverified increase, emphasizing that the student loan initiative is designed for affordability and long-term sustainability. The agency, he said, is already reaching out to the institutions involved to demand proper explanations. NELFund's internal revenue system cross-checks current fees with previous academic records and also relies on feedback from applicants. The fee jumps, some exceeding 1 million naira in a single academic year, were flagged as unjustifiable and potentially damaging the students' financial futures. Education stakeholders have now warned that such moves by universities and polytechnics could undermine the credibility and effectiveness of the National Student Loan Scheme, which was created to support access to higher education, not to absorb unchecked institutional pricing. The incident has reignited debates around tuition regulation, transparency, and the broader challenge facing Nigeria's higher education financing model. We're now going to a quick break. The news continues on the other side. Welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, this is still Idea TV Midday News. Now the rest of the stories. Away from Africa, in a major milestone for the digital finance world, the United States has passed its first national cryptocurrency legislation, ushering in a new era of regulation for an industry that has long operated on the fringes. The bill, called the Genius Act, was approved by the House of Representatives yesterday following the Senate approval last month. President Donald Trump is expected to sign it into law today. The Genius of Act establishes a federal regulatory framework for stablecoins, a class of cryptocurrencies backed by a traditional asset like the US dollar, in the system. The Genius Act is one of three major crypto-related bills being pushed by the Trump administration. The other two want to block the creation of a U.S. central bank digital currency, and another to create a broader regulatory structure for cryptocurrencies have cleared the House and are awaiting Senate consideration. However, political analysts say those bills are unlikely to progress further, citing strong opposition and legislative fatigue. While the Genius Act may be just one step at the road of comprehensive crypto regulation, it marks a turning point for an industry that has been pushing for legitimacy for over a decade. With Washington's seal of approval on stablecoin, cryptocurrency has taken a deep giant leap from the digital margins of the regulatory mainstream. And now in business, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg and other top company executives have agreed to settle a major lawsuit filed by shareholders who accused them of mishandling Facebook's privacy violations, including the infamous Cambridge Analytica scandal. The lawsuit, which sought $8 billion in damages, was settled just as the trial entered its second day in Delaware courtroom. Details of the settlement amount being undisclosed, and Meta has declined to comment on the developments. The lawsuit, filed in 2018, alleged that Zuckerberg and 10 other current and former board members failed to prevent repeated privacy breaches, which ultimately caused the company billions in regulatory fines and legal costs. Among the high-profile defendants were Peter Thiel, co-founder of Palantir Technologies, Reed Hastings, co-founder of Netflix, and Jeffrey Zients, a former Meta director who also served as a White House chief of staff under President Joe Biden. Former Meta COO Sheryl Sandberg was also expected to testify before the surprise settlement was reached. In his testimony before the court, Zients admitted that Meta's 2019 $5 billion fine to the Federal Trade Commission was significant, but claimed it was not paid to shield Zuckerberg from personal legal consequences. The settlement allows executives to avoid further public testimony and scrutiny. Legal experts say that while the argument spares Meta's leadership from reputational damage, it also deprives the public from deeper understanding of how the company allegedly approved or overlooked unlawful due processes. Although Meta has not directly named as a defendant in the suit, the company has emphasized that it has invested billions into privacy and security reforms since 2019, attempting to restore public trust after years of data scandals. And finally, in sports, Nigeria's junior Tigers will look to restore some pride as they take on Argentina today in the classification round of the ongoing FIBA Under-19 Women's Basketball World Cup in Buenos Aires. The Nigerian girls, led by coach Juliana Akiri, bowed out of the contention after suffering a 77-51 defeat to Hungary in the round of 16 on Wednesday. However, they will now continue their campaign in the 9th to 16th placement, starting with a clash against South American side Argentina and the Starres Arena Vodova Hall. This marks Nigeria's debut at the Under-19 World Cup, and despite early promise, with an opening win against China in Group B, back-to-back losses to Canada and Portugal saw them finish third in the group stage. The subsequent loss to Hungary is the knockout round, sends them into the classification brackets. Statistically, the junior Tigers have put up an average of 61.8 points, 42.3 rebounds, and 11.1 assists per game, with a 65.8% free throw success rate. Their 2-point and 3-point field goal percentages stand at 33.1% and 21.2% respectively. In contrast, Argentina have struggled throughout the tournament, losing all 4 of their games. Their campaign includes heavy defeats to Spain 68.74, Czechia 77-49, Japan 83-44, and Australia 95-46. The Argentines average 46.5 points, 32 rebounds, and 12.3 assists per game, with shooting accuracy slightly ahead of Nigeria's in both 2.39.2% and 3.22.6% conversions. Toby Nweke continues to lead the charge for Nigeria, averaging 11.5 points per game, while Argentina's Nere Lawoski has been their top scorer, averaging 9 points. A win today would not only boost morale but also set up a meeting with the winner between Brazil and the Korean Republic in the next round of classification games. And that's all we have for you on Idea TV Midday News. But before we go, here's a quick recap of the headlines. We brought you news that Netflix has unveiled first AI-generated scene in Sci-Fi series, The Eternauts. We also told you that the Burkina Faso junta abolishes Electoral Commission and tightens grip on power amid rising violence. Tinubu renames University of Maiduguri after late President Muhammadu Buhari. Nelfon flags 900% tuition hike in 10 tertiary institutions and halts student loan disbursement. Away from Africa, U.S. passes landmark law regulating stablecoins. In business, Zuckerberg and Meta execs settled $8 billion Facebook privacy lawsuit with shareholders. In sports, finally, Junior Tigers set to battle Argentina in classification round. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms at Idea Television. I am Chinatu Oji. Enjoy the rest of your day.